Hi everybody, don't know if anybody's watching. If you are, hello. If not, I'm going to record this one and post it. So the last couple of these I've done were Perl for the Perl Weekly Challenge. Today what I want to do is I've been learning Elm, the front-end language. Let's go to that. Let's show that because that's cool. So I've been learning Elm Lang. It's a really cool, delightful language for reliable web apps with no runtime exceptions, as it says there on the screen. So I'm not very good at it. Not done functional programming before, not done front end. But what I want to do with it is, a while ago, many moons ago, I built this little website here. And actually this is the new version in Elm. But what it is, it's a little web app that picks up all the judo athletes in the world on the world ranking list, senior athletes, and displays their ranking. And I've done this before in JavaScript, pure JavaScript on the front end. I think I used jQuery as a while ago. And I've done a couple of little experiments with Elm, and this is the biggest one I've done to date, where I'm picking up the athletes, displaying them in a table here. So shall we have a quick look at it? Let me show you where it's at. So this one I'm not going to be using Vim, I'm going to be using VS Code, because why not? So let me just load it up. One of the nice things about it obviously is that it's one of the really nice things about Elm is it's got nice integration to IDE. I'm an old school Perl developer, so I've always done stuff in, what am I saying? Not thinking straight today. I've done most of my coding in Vim, to be frank, so using an IDE is a pleasant change. So at the moment this code is, if we scroll down to the bottom, a bit of noise, it's in the region of 400 lines of code. It's not terribly optimized, it's not terribly tidy, it's not terribly advanced because I'm not very good at Elm yet, but it works, and it works reliably. So I'll show you how it works. So where are we? Over here. I want the browser. So basically what it does is it makes a little API call to get all these countries, and then when you click on a country such as, for example, scrolling down here to New Zealand, it loads all the athletes from New Zealand, from NZL, and it tells me which ones are the highest ranked male, highest ranked female, who's done the most, gone up the most positions, and the ones who have dropped the most as well. Yeah? So it's all pretty obvious, and what the total athletes are. And then I create a little table here where this is in order of rank on the world ranking list, what position they are. So Justine Bishop is 68th in her category. I should probably put the category in there if I can. How many points, and if she's gone up in this case, stayed the same, or do we have somebody's gone down? Nobody's gone down. Problem with this is, with COVID-19, there are no international judo competitions going on. There's not a lot to see, right? So we're not really seeing much change. So there's a lot of not changing, and most of this is when points expire over time. So there's an idea. Let's put the weight category in here. That should be a thing I can do. And that the other thing that I want to do is, you'll notice here some of the flags are missing. I made a sort of forked a module or a library, a package I think they call it, for flags using the 2-digit sort of official country codes, but I'm using the IOC 3-letter country code. So I had to sort of, I forked it, and I want to contribute it back when it's half decent. But I lost some flags along the way because I didn't think, I didn't think it was probably the best one. And we had some weird ones in here, like the former country formerly known as Czechoslovakia. I think East Germany is here somewhere. East Germany, yeah. So from the historical archive of countries rather than valid ones. Obviously we've got some ones here like the IGF and the IGF refugee team, which are used for sporting events. But anyway, enough of that. Let's go have a look and see if we can't. To do this, I think what I'm going to have to do is change the encoder. Interestingly, I'm not sure what's on the screen at the moment. Have you got the right thing? Yeah, got the right thing. If you are watching live, and there's a couple of people by the looks, please do say hello in the chat. I've got that up over there on another screen, so I can say hello. This is all very new, this live streaming stuff and live coding, so forgive me if it's not overly exciting. But yeah, bear with me. Okay, so let's go have a look at the code. Like I said, I'm using VS Code. It's got nice integration into for Elm. So what I'm going to do, I wonder if I need to make the font bigger for you guys. I think it's okay. So let's do that thing I said we're going to do. So down here is the view. This is the model for the view. I'll try and make it slightly bigger. It's not very, what do you call it? Can I just Control plus? Apparently not. Oh, maybe. Did that do something? Yeah, okay, cool. It's slow, but it's doing something. Glad I didn't push it too many more times. I'll just close that for now. Okay, so this is the model here. It takes in, sorry, this is the view. It takes in the model and it returns HTML and it can pass a message. The model itself here, view model, sorry, view is the function and it takes in a model and then it uses element. I'm using Elm UI, so it all starts with that. Oh, g'day. Hi, how you doing? You may not like this, but let's see how we do. It's not Perl, so I'm struggling. Anyway, so we scroll down here, and this bit here is the left-hand column with all the text in it, and this section here is the athlete, and this is the athlete section with top male, top climber, top female, and then we get down here and we've got this index table. And what I want to do is I want to add in here, down here I think, yeah, we want to do something like add in, we want to pinned on, and I'll just do this way, oops, still in a UK keyboard. So let's add on, put a space, let's use a bracket because we can. And let's go with, it's probably something like, that's going to be wrong, I almost guarantee it, but it's interesting to do it this way for a reason, which will become apparent in a second. So one of the interesting things that I quite like about Elm is you can see there it's all turned a horrible shade of red. Because something's gone wrong. And what I can do, if I switch to the browser, come on. If I go to the browser, and what I'll actually do is I'll load up Elm Reactor. Why didn't that work? Did I not start Elm Reactor? No, I did not. So if I run Elm Reactor, like that, and then I switch back to the browser, this should work. So it has a nice little server. I can jump in here and go to source, and the one I'm looking for is main, and it has a really nice compiler which is going to tell me things went horribly wrong. And let's make that legible. So it didn't like that very much for reasons that will become apparent. Second argument is not what it expected, so what did I do wrong? Right, this is the interesting bit down here, because it's saying that this argument is a record of type. It's a list of things, and this is the record type, so we've got, it's expecting, so it's category. What did I put? Athlete category. And then what it says here is trying to work it out, and you can see here it thinks I've typoed the field name category because it doesn't think that exists. So quite clever that way. It tells me all these things. So that's, I'm going to pretend that's what I thought it was going to do. So give me 1 sec and I'll switch back to VS Code. And what I've got down here is the decoders from the JSON. And you can see here I don't have that field, which is what's basically causing the problem. Now, I was being good when I wrote this, that I wrote a test for this one because I was really struggling with the JSON decoders in Elm. So I have an example of what the JSON looks like. This is what the JSON that we're receiving looks like. And what I'm looking for is the weight category, ideally, if I can get that. So it's weight name, that's probably what I want. Pretty short, so let's just grab that. So what I can do in this case is go up here and say that in case of an athlete I want weight name. This is what we should expect. So what format does it go? I think it's just a string because that's the way the API works. Yep. Which I know is weird, but that's what it is. Like that. And then what we can do, if I jump back to the terminal, and I'll do it in another. Let me just get back to the right place. Conveniently, no, let's just run Elm test, and this should fail horribly. Yep. And what I'll just do to make my life a little tidier is I'm going to switch back to VS Code, and just in the main, I'm just going to revert that nasty hack up here. Where is it? Let's take that out for now because that's just going to error. And the way that the testing library works, it makes lots of noise, so I don't really find that useful because it's just going to complain about the other things first. So hopefully test is it? And that's the so what's that saying? It's a bit funny. Let's jump back into Visual Code, VS Code, go back to my decoder down here. So we're going to map a 7th field, and it's going to look a bit like this one. What does it weight name? What issues does it take up with that? So that come back to here. Okay. So what does that look like if I now go to the terminal? I made that fatal mistake of not starting clean, didn't I? So we're going to go found test, and we can make it watch. Okay. Okay, that's a lot more like it. So that's just going to sit there and run. I really like that. If you're watching yesterday or watch the other video, when I do Perl, I often just run prove with watch under Linux in the terminal anyway, so it's nice that Elm built this in, so I can just go minus watch and it's going to do what I would do, except better that this just waits for a change, and then when it's a text change, runs tests, rather than what I do, which is run them every 2 seconds, which has been known to cause me problems. So athlete map 7, have I gone outside the list, the size that you can actually get away with? Maybe. Seven. Oh, I can have 7 apparently. Ah, I'm being daft. What it is, if I read the actual error message, you can see here that it's saying athlete is a type, has string, 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 int, 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 and it's an athlete, but I'm going string, 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 int, int, int. What's that, G or something? So what it's doing is it's blowing up because the actual, I have a type for an athlete way at the top here, which is not great. I'm not sure what the good ways of formatting this is, but you can see here the type alias for athlete doesn't have the 7 fields. So if we add that in, it takes a bit of getting used to actually listening to the compiler, which I'm not used to as a Perler. So let's see what the test says to that. Oops. Yep, and you can tell that I've been doing Vim. Okay, cool. So the second argument equals not what I expected. Okay, so if we come back to our test, come back here. So it should expect this to equal, this should be a string this time. If I jump back to the tests, So now what it's saying is the weight name field is missing. Ah, okay, so but top fawler needs first argument to be. So this is in top fawler test. So this is actually a different test that's failing because it's using the same objects, which would suggest to me that we're in a pretty good place. My top climber will probably fail for equally fun reasons. So yeah, here we have an athlete, and we look at the terminal again. That's James Nobody, and it's because none of those have got the right thing in them. So let's give them all categories. In fact, they should. Yeah, because I've created some fake athlete records here. Foo, I don't think it cares what it actually looks like. Cause it's awfully hard to type and talk at the same time. And if I scroll down here, I can do this once more because I put 3 records. What this test does is it the top fawler just takes a list of athlete records, and picks out the one that's got dropped the most, and then displays it. So James, I forget which one it is that's the lowest, probably James Nobody, I think, drops like 10 points, and it shows that. So I have to give it, these are my fixtures. And it has the right shape for an athlete, so it should be okay. So if I save that and go to the terminal, it'll tell me what the next place I've messed up is, hopefully. And what it's saying is I've got the same problem in top climber. Because it's typed, obviously it knows everywhere that I've got this wrong. So let's be a bit lazy. Let's use the magic of copy and paste. And again, for this function, it doesn't care about that field, so I don't need it to say the right thing. So what happens when I save that? I've got the tests open for you guys, so I save it. You can see it changed, so it's rebuilding. Still rebuilding. A little unimpressive. There we go. Okay, so all my tests are now passing. And one of the things that I've been trying to get used to with Elm is that you kind of end up trusting the compiler to tell you when you've got to the end, which is a bit of a change, that you can trust the compiler quite a bit to tell you when you're off in the weeds and you haven't quite got it right. So let's jump across. I'm not sure what my bitrate's doing. It seems to be blipping a bit. It's in red for me, so let's hope that's okay. So let's yeah, let's try Elm Reactor. So I think I've still got that running. Yep. So if I can jump to the browser, this was the error we had originally. So if we just hit reload. Okay, it's working again. So I can look at Fiji. They have Takayawa, Tavita. I need to now try and put the category in here somewhere. So let's, might make it a whole column, but let's just do it the quick way first. So I will jump back to VS Code. And now that I'm relatively sure this is going to work, I'll just do a quick cleanup. Where's my display code? It's down here somewhere. A bit hard, it's this big, but alright. So this is it here. We create an index table. When you create an index element table, that's creating, you know, an HTML table. They have two sorts: tables, normal one. Index table does what you think it does. It just gives you an index element that you can pass in, starting at 0, 1 for each row. And what I do is, I give it a name. You can tell it the width, and the nice thing about Elm UI is I can basically just give it this attribute saying that the width is fill. So it's just going to fill up width-wise within whatever it's in. And that's sort of the settings. The view itself, I pass in, this is the index here, I'm just calling it I because I'm lazy. But what that let me do is I could then do a mod division here. If I scroll this way a little bit, mod division, and then I can set the background color depending on just depending on if it's odd or even, so I can get that grey, white, grey, white. And then inside each one of these rows we have an element. We've got the a list of attributes, and then this is the actual contents of what we want to do. So inside here, the super ugly version of this will be just to go athlete dot weight name, Control S. Again, it's pretty good at telling you there's no errors. And then if we jump back to the browser, hit reload, that's a good sign, it compiled. And if we pick Afghanistan, so this is the category here, under 66, under 60, under 81. So that's pretty cool, pretty happy with that. That's important for our application, or for my application, I guess, because this is a national ranking, not by category, so that's helpful. I wonder if I should put it here as a column, or just tack it on the end. Let's just go, let's have a look at that. Let's try it as an extra column, maybe. So it's just here. So if I wanted to do that, basically the way it works is my data, my table, you tell it what data you want, so model, the application model and athletes, and then the columns is a list, these little square brackets, and each column has its own set of headings. I need to refactor this because I think all of this stuff could be a function that I could just pass in, or whichever way you look at it. So I've got one column here, second column here with the position in it, like that. So maybe let's try adding in another column. And what I can do if I'm lazy, which if you're watching this you probably know me well enough to know I am incredibly lazy. Let's copy that. Step back a couple of spots and let's paste that back in. Save it. You can see here in the little terminal that comes with VS Code, it's running the tests. It's not failing by the looks. Yep, so that's all good. Oh, that's interesting. And Control-Shift-I will run Elm format. Really like the fact that Elm basically has a formatter built in. Frustrates me when languages don't. I'm not talking about Perl 6, but I am. So let's have a quick look at what this does. Probably doesn't look very nice. So I've replicated the whole column, but it's working. So let's just make that what I actually want it to be now. So this is weight category. Weight category here, and we don't need any of the stuff except for the athlete's weight category. And you can see again it's really nice. It picked up there was an issue, but it seems to have gone away. Oh, sorry, I did that without showing you what I was doing. So yeah, basically what I've done here is just changed the weight category here, changed it from athlete to weight category, and then stripped out everything that was in here so that it looks nice. What are these lies, Pete? Right, so let's reload that. Cool, we'll check, pick a country, any country. Let's pick Sweden. Should be Toy Macias at the top. Yep. Category 73. That's right. I've left that in there, so let's go fix that up. Where did I do that? That was up here. So let's take that out. Okay, save that. Let's see what that looks like. It'd be nice to do some font stuff to this, I think. I was having a talk with somebody at work today about design and front end, and I made the confession that as a Perl developer, I like black text on a white background. Let's try Albania. Okay, not too bad. I don't like it on this side. Maybe I want to move it to the right. So how do I align it to the right? So that's not too tricky either. We can go to community and go to packages. The video is a bit laggy. I'm finding the video. My bitrate is red, but as you, I don't have wired connection still. Pushing, what is it? What am I pushing? 2,500, I think, so it's quite a lot. And no doubt Netflix is running in the other room. Unlike yesterday, I have remembered to hit the record button, so this will be available for later rebroadcast. So one of the things that got me interested in this is this module here, Elm UI. Elm UI is a really interesting module, and a lot like lots of the stuff in Elm, it tries to do things a bit different. So this talk, which I won't let play, because I'm sure that will cause problems. If it, yeah, it's quite laggy. Come on. Wow, my connection is really, really slow. So this talk by Matthew Griffith is really interesting. That guy there, because it describes how Elm UI works, which is that basically it takes away all the CSS, all the HTML, all that stuff, which I'm rubbish at anyway, and describes a nice way of doing it that he has put together. And it's like his third module that does similar things, and this one's gained a whole bunch of following by the feel of it in the Elm community. But what it does is it lets you just, if I can skip to some good bits, can I do that without hitting play? Maybe not. Watch it, interesting talk if you're really interested, but it's what's interesting about it is you don't use HTML ideas, and that's helpful for me because I was, you know, as you can tell from the layout of this thing, I'm not very artistic. So the library lets you do stuff, so it's quite simple how you do stuff. So if you want to align the element to the right, you just put align right, and it kind of just works. And if you put a line right and a line left, they jump right and left as you'd expect, which I really like. But the one I want, because it's a font thing, I don't know why it's called Element when the thing's called Elm UI, but that's what it comes out with. I should be able to, I think it's probably going to be really obvious when I find it. So yeah, align right. It's not super tricky. So what I can do, if I jump back here to VS Code, aligning something is so beautifully simple that I really like it a lot. So I can just go font align right. And assuming I've imported the package, which I think I have, it should just magically work. So if I jump back to the browser, and I want this one, not that one, and hit refresh, and load up, not American Samoa, Czech Republic, and it totally didn't work. Ah, why didn't that work? Interesting. That totally should work, I thought. Did I import the module? I thought it would die if I hadn't. Let's have a look. Element font as font. That should work. And I changed it down here. Because I did it in the wrong place. Obvious when you think about it. So I want to do it here. I should really break this out because it's reaching the point where it's a little bit ugly and quite, it's longer than it was. I think the original version was 200 lines, but with all the little bits and pieces it's got a bit longer. So let's jump across to the browser and let's hit refresh. Actually, you can see it, the athletes was on the right hand side. I should have spotted that. Loads it up. Pick a country that I know actually has some athletes. Oh, this top country. Yeah, that's even worse. I think center. I could put some padding or something, or make it line up. What options do I have? I could center it. Yeah, let's try that. So again, it's super easy. I can just jump in here and go. I'm in the wrong place. Never hit keys when you're sitting in OBS. It was American spelling, right? So let's jump back to the browser. This bit is a bit of a faff, jumping backwards and forwards, especially when I have to switch it in OBS and then on my laptop as well, but such is life. So Australia, I can live with that for now. Okay. Not too bad. So what I'll do now is I'll just jump over here. Let's have a look at what we've got. So if we get diff, let's just look at the main code. So you can see here, basically what we had to do is in the type alias, just add the new string. And then down here in the decoder, we just change it so it's explicit the number of things that you're decoding from the JSON API, which I didn't like at first, but I kind of got used to. I kind of like it. So I'm going to decode it into a type of an athlete. So it has to match the athlete type, which is nice, so you can't do it wrong, if you follow what I mean. And then I just use this function. I'm going to get the field called family name out of the JSON, decode it as a string. So I don't want to talk rubbish, but basically make sure that it's a string. Yeah, so catching up on the chat. Yeah, minus and plus. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's judo specific, so all our categories are under categories. So we fight under 60 kilos, under 66 kilos, which is the equivalent of, you know, it's 60.1 up to 66 kilos. And we just call that minus 66, all the way up to the not open weight, but the heavyweights, where we have in the men under 100 and over 100, and we do plus 100. When I did the fantasy judo, so the fantasy sports judo thing, my friend who helped me on that project asked that exact question and hated it and kept trying to rename it. There is a system where they call it light, middle, heavyweight, that I think the IOC used for the Olympics technically exists, but nobody uses it in judo. So yeah, the plus and minus are specific to us, so they mean something to us. So when we're here and I see plus 100, I can see Michael Heimdall is 100. He's plus 100, so he's one of the big guys. He's ranked number 174th in the world, and he's got 18 points. 18 points in judo terms is not great, because if we skip to a country that looks a bit different. So if we look at Japan, for example, Soichi Hashimoto in under 73, she's ranked number 1 in the world, and she's got 6,379 points. And you can see at this ranking, can you guess where our sport's from yet? And who's got an Olympic Games that should have started this week, I think, sadly. And, you know, that's how many people they've got in the top 3 in the world right now. It's kind of scary, and this list just goes on and on and on. So the lowest they've got is 115, and for us, this is under 81 kilos, and under 81 kilos is one of the more 81 and 78. What am I saying? Under 73. Probably the 2 most competitive in terms of numbers. It's the middleweight men. So those are the tough ones. Plus 100 is the big guys. So if we look at France, oh, he's not here. Where is he? This is always interesting. This guy here, Teddy Riner, 8+ times world champion in over 100s. Currently ranked 24th in the world, which is interesting because the way our qualification system goes is top. It might be 24. It was top 22. I have to double check. In the world to qualify, and then there's a bunch of wild cards. So actually, he's might be out. He's right on the edge of whether or not he's qualified to go to the Olympics, and he's the reigning Olympic and world champion, but he hasn't been competing much. This stuff to judo people is really interesting. Maybe not so much to people who want to learn about Elm or who are just being supportive. Anywho, let's go back to the terminal. That was a good little diversion. So yeah, that's why we have that. And then this is the actual change we've made in here. We've added an extra column in here. So this is the definition of the column. Set the header, which is an element. The font's bold. The element text is weight category. The width is fill, so it fills up the entire thing within the confines of what it's in. Like I said before, it's an indexed table. So this I that we pass in is passed in. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. And then an athlete into each row of this table. And then inside that row, this is what we put inside the row. This and this first bit, this list of arguments, is the parameters, so the styling. So I'm spacing that element 5 to the side. Spacing is horizontal, padding is the outside edge. Slightly different to CSS. I'm aligning the text in the middle, and then yeah, if it divides by 2 and there's no what do you call it, remainder, I set the background to that grey colour, and then this, and all this stuff actually I can make cleaner. There are ways to make it cleaner, and actually I could probably turn all of this into a function and call it, I suspect, which is probably what I'm supposed to do, but you know, newbie. what else did we change? So the athletes decoder we changed, and the test for that was just adding in to the fixture the weight name, so it made sense and it worked. So that's all we did in those tests. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, so what did we do? We what did I do? When I apply this commit, it will add so we probably don't have to put we, but so what we did was extended the athlete type to type alias. I'm not sure in the right balance what it is. API, fix the tests. And in the layout. So this is helpful because judoka, so people do judoka. Okay. Cool. There's vulnerability in the old branch. That's not me. I swear, it's not me. Cool. Okay, so I think that's all I'll do for this evening. Just wanted to see how that went. A little different doing a language I don't know. So yeah, that was a bit interesting. And I wanted to test the recording and the streaming at the same time to see how that went. And we spent about 50 minutes on this, 48 minutes according to the recorder. So if you stuck this out, Pete, good on you. So anyone else watching, thank you very much. If you're watching this on the repeat, thanks very much for watching all that sort of cheesy stuff. And I might do a few more of these. It's quite quite good motivation for me to do some coding, which can be not very often that happens. Yeah, thanks very much. How do I do a fade to black? Oh, so disappointing. Right, I'm just going to have to fade quietly out and not do a fancy one. How disappointing is that? I'll try this one.